your theme and pin it on the wall and then write to that. Well, it's not quite that simple. I think for me, it's a large part is discovery. It's almost like being in therapy working on these films, because you start to dig down and figure out what's going on and why am I compelled to tell this story. And so in this case, the theme we kind of came to was adventure, either being out there in the world and fantastic places and discovery and seeing wild animals and things like that, versus adventure in the small things, in relationship. So it's really kind of a redefining of that word, adventure, that is at the heart of the film. So now just kind of following through our process, we write a treatment. This leads to a script, which leads to many, many scripts. When I was working on what became Wall-E, we knew we were from the beginning going to do it without dialogue. And so this is now kind of part of our process as well, is to try to think through the film as though there is no dialogue at all. How can I make sure to tell the story visually, just using symbols, using acting cues, using the cutting as the film. So that's part of the process as well. This is the way we work then, is very visual. This is Josh Cooley. He's our head of story on the film I'm working on now. And he's storyboarding a sequence from Up. And it's this tool that you can draw and then you can flip through, almost like a comic book, and it gives you a very close approximation of what the film is going to be like. And then we take this, we record our own dialogue. This is Bob and Pete Sohn, and we put it all together. This is in editorial, and we put it together with sound, music, dialogue, all just temporary to build it for ourselves. And when we see it, that's usually our response. And so we go back and we have some ideas to change things, and Bob is rewriting some lines, and there's Ronnie, and he's going to draw some new stuff. Bob records some stuff on the spot. We cut it together. When eventually at it's usually about 3 months process, 4 months, we show it to the other directors. So this is us standing in front of John Lasseter and all the other guys that are directors there, and we show the film. And then afterwards, we all go up to a room and get yelled at. And everybody gets to tell us what's wrong. And it's kind of a hard process, but it's necessary and very good, because ultimately then I get to go back and do it again, and again, and again. And so this goes on for probably 7 or 8 times of redoing the story, potentially scrapping the whole thing. So I'd say for any given film that we do, probably build about the equivalent of 8 versions of that film from scratch. And that's all then before we go into production. So that's usually about 2-3 years of that. And I won't get into this, but basically the parts I've been talking about is just this little part up here, the story, editorial. Then the next 1.5 years is all of this stuff, animation and building the characters, and then eventually getting to music and mix and all of that. So, I just throw this in. This is kind of basically the way our team is organized, although usually it feels more like that. So now getting to the subject of this conference, I think, the way I think about it, I think we humans are just inherently visual, that it's our native language, and we learn to see before we learn to talk. We learn to talk, obviously, before we learn to read. When we remember something, we see it in our mind's eye. And to me, it's no accident that the first written languages, Sumerian and Egyptian hieroglyphs, and even Chinese logo forms, they're all pictorial, or pictorial, rather. But most importantly, I think visuals are the key to reading other people. And that's why, for me, the visuals are really important. And it's what we do every day, and it's the most important things in any of our lives, is understanding other people's intentions. And so we are totally locked in. You can see it from when infants are first born. The first thing my son, we had this mobile with all these shapes above his crib, and there's blocks and circles and squares. The one he locked in on was the face. It's like the circle with the 2 dots and the line. Bang, right from the beginning. And that's exactly what we're after as storytellers. And thanks to our inherent sense of empathy, nothing affects us more than seeing another human face. And here's just a quick example of that.
Hi, my name is Hannah Escher. I'm 10 years old and I go to Randolph Elementary School. My dad, Master Sergeant Joe Myers, is in Iraq right now.
Come here.
Okay.
So very simple, but I have yet to see that without kind of welling up. I mean, it's just so powerful, just seeing another person's face, just seeing someone else express emotion. And curiously enough, this works even when there aren't faces on characters. I'll give you a little example of that. This is
Many of you feel bad for this lamp. That is because you're crazy. It has no feelings. And the new one is much better.
So it's thanks to that response right there, empathy, that I have a job. And as such, my main job as a storyteller is to create something on the screen that gets a response in people. And that's really the only thing that matters. And it's curious, a lot of times people will talk to us about our themes in films, and that's a big subject amongst critics. I just thought I'd pull these two quotes from great filmmakers that I love that talk about what they're after. So Hitchcock, he says, "I'm not interested in content at all. I don't give a damn what film is about. I'm more interested in how to handle the material so as to create an emotion in the audience." And you think, okay, well, that's Hitchcock, maybe that's, he's a populist. Well, then you got Ingmar Bergman, who is saying, I'm always surprised when people ask me about the message, because I just want to get in touch with other human beings and tell them a story when I make a picture, or just be together with them, or touch them, and have them feel things. And I think that expresses exactly what we're all after. Many Hollywood screenwriters ask what sells, and I think a smart screenwriter asks what moves me. And there's really nothing that moves you more than other people. So my main job as a filmmaker is to get characters onto the screen. And how do you do that? How do you create a good character? Well, I had the opportunity to work with Frank Oz, which, if you're probably familiar with his work, he's the performer behind such amazing characters as Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy, Cookie Monster, Yoda, the list goes on. He's a great director as well. And I just sat and asked him, where do characters come from? And this is his answer.
No one's ever asked me that before, and I don't know how to, I'm just trying to feel where they come from. I mean, I don't know. I do so many characters, I've done so many characters, I don't do that much anymore. And I know that whatever makes me laugh, or whatever is compelling or exciting, then I'll latch onto that thing. But how I get that thing in the first place, I don't know. I just don't know.
So that was a lot of help. But I think, for a lot of us, we dig around, we look in various places. These are drawings that I did at the beginning of Up.